In a quiet town nestled between rolling green hills and a vast ancient meadow, there lived a boy named Jake. Jake had always felt alone. His house sat at the edge of the town, close to a sprawling field that led into a dense woodland. He had no siblings and very few friends, and most days he spent his time staring out of his window, watching the wind move through the tall grass, wondering if there was someone out there waiting for him. His parents had vanished when he was very young. Nobody could tell him where they had gone or if they would ever return. Though his grandmother, who raised him, spoke of them with warmth, there was always sadness in her voice. Jake missed them terribly, even though his memories of them were faint and blurred. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of violet and gold, Jake heard something unusual. It was a faint voice, drifting through the open window. At first, he thought it was the wind whistling through the trees. But when he listened closely, he realized the voice was calling his name. His heart pounded. Who or what was calling me? Curious but cautious, Jake tiptoed to the window and peered outside. The vast meadow stretched before him, bathed in twilight, but nothing seemed unusual. Still, the whispering continued, soft yet insistent. Unable to ignore the strange call, Jake pulled on his jacket and slipped out the back door. The cool night air sent a shiver down his spine as he crossed the meadow. Each step he took filled him with both excitement and fear. As he reached the edge of the woodland, the voice faded, replaced by the rustling of leaves in the evening breeze. The forest stood before him, dark and mysterious, but something about it felt inviting. It was as if it were waiting for him. Taking a deep breath, Jake stepped into the trees. The forest was eerily silent, except for the occasional hoot of an owl and the distant chirping of crickets. Jake's footsteps crunched against the dry leaves as he walked deeper into the woods, his heart thumping with anticipation. He didn't know what he was looking for, only that something was calling him forward. Eventually, he came to a clearing where an enormous oak tree stood, its roots sprawling across the earth like the fingers of a sleeping giant. The tree was ancient, its bark weathered with time, and its massive branches stretched toward the sky as if whispering to the stars. Jake hesitated, then reached out to touch the rough bark. The moment his fingers brushed the tree's surface, he felt a sudden warmth spread through his hand. Then a whisper. "Jake," he gasped, stepping back. The voice was coming from the tree itself. His mind raced. Was he dreaming? Had he fallen asleep back at home? And this was all part of some strange vision? But no, everything felt real. The damp earth beneath his feet, the cool night air against his skin. He was awake. The voice spoke again, gentle yet firm. "You are not alone." Jake's breath hitched. His loneliness, the feeling that had weighed on him for years, felt suddenly exposed, as if the tree could see straight into his soul. "Who are you?" he whispered. The tree remained silent, but a sudden gust of wind blew through the clearing, rustling the branches above him. And in that moment, Jake saw something, a flicker of movement in the shadows. A figure, barely visible, standing just beyond the edge of the clearing. Jake's pulse quickened. Who's there? The figure stepped forward into the pale moonlight. It was a girl, about his age, with dark hair that cascaded over her shoulders and eyes that seemed to glow like embers. My name is Emily, she said softly. I've been waiting for you. Jake's mind spun with questions. How did she know his name? Why had she been waiting for him? Emily smiled, sensing his confusion. I don't know how to explain it exactly, she admitted. But I think we're connected. I've had dreams about you, Jake. Dreams about this tree, about this moment. His heart pounded. You've dreamt about me? She nodded. For years, a strange energy buzzed between them. Though they had just met, it felt as if they had known each other forever. Jake turned back to the ancient oak tree. This tree, it spoke to me, he said. It told me I wasn't alone. Emily's expression softened. That's why I come here, she murmured. This tree, it holds memories, whispers stories of the past. I think it's been waiting for both of us. She reached out and placed her hand against the bark. Closing her eyes, Jake watched as the soft glow surrounded her fingertips. Then suddenly, the world shifted. A vision unfolded before them. They saw a boy and a girl, two figures from another time, dressed in old-fashioned clothing, standing beneath the very same oak tree. The boy's face was strikingly familiar. He looked just like Jake, and the girl, with her long, flowing hair, was unmistakably Emily. Jake's breath caught in his throat. That's us, he whispered. Emily's eyes widened. But from another time, the vision continued. The boy and girl held hands, their faces filled with love and sorrow. A moment later, shadowy figures appeared, tearing them apart, pulling them in opposite directions. Their cries echoed through the clearing as the vision dissolved into darkness. Jake and Emily stumbled back, gasping. What was that? Jake breathed. Emily's voice trembled. I think we were them. In another life. A silence stretched between them, heavy with realization. They had been separated once before, torn apart by forces they didn't understand. But now, fate had brought them back together. The tree's whisper returned, soft and soothing. This time, you choose. Jake turned to Emily, his heart pounding. Do you believe it? He asked. She gazed at him with quiet certainty. I do. They stood there hand in hand, beneath the ancient oak, knowing that their bond transcended time. They had found each other again, and this time they would not let go. As the first light of dawn crept through the trees, they made a silent promise. This time, they would write their own story. A story of love, of courage, of a connection so strong that not even time itself could break it. And in the heart of the ancient forest, the whispering oak stood as their guardian, carrying their story in its roots, its branches, and the very wind that had called them together.